Here is another tip for eating disorder recovery. So, if you're in eating disorder recovery, you have possibly quite heard someone tell you the solution to everything is to just eat. And it's like, well, yeah. Funny thing is, if it was that simple, I would not be having an eating disorder right now. If the entire solution was for me to just eat, I would not be here, right? So I think that probably everybody with an eating disorder can probably relate to that. And I just want to remind you that, when we do have the disorder, and I'm saying this from a state of someone who is recovered now, it was unbelievable for me to just think that the solution was food. Yes, of course, I had to start nutritional rehabilitation. I had to stop being afraid of certain foods, food groups, fear of weight gain, all of that kind of stuff, right? But that was very mental. Like, I had to train my brain how to not be afraid of that anymore and how to be in a recovered state. And now that I am recovered, I can see that a major component was, yes, just eat. So nutritional rehabilitation is so important. That is like a fundamental step in recovery from an eating disorder. But I personally believe that there is another component to eating disorder recovery. And for me, I phrase that as creating a relationship with myself. So, create a relationship with myself. So before I had an eating disorder, I did not have a very solid or great relationship with myself. I didn't really know who I was, what I liked, what my hobbies were, that kind of stuff. Like a majority of my life, the eating disorder had always been there, so it was a major component. And fear of not knowing who I would be without the disorder kept me sick for a very long time. And I feel like, fear in general keeps people sick with an eating disorder. That's like one of the eating disorders tactics. It makes you afraid of literally like everything. And it just tells you all these delusional lies. But, it's coming and we're hearing it and we're like, yes, okay, scared. So it is a normal response to fear to do the things that will get us recovered. But I just want to remind you that every time that you do a recovery-based behavior, yes, it can feel very, very difficult. You can do hard things, and it is going to get you one step closer to full recovery. Because keep in mind, every time that you're upsetting your eating disorder, you are literally like going in the right direction of recovery. Because if you're upsetting the eating disorder, then you're obviously doing the things that it doesn't want you to do. And in order to recover, you have to do the exact opposite of everything that the eating disorder wants you to do. So there's a little bit of eating disorder recovery logic for you. And when this comes into play with other people, like maybe family members, whatnot, not understanding, eating disorder recovery, and they think all you have to do is eat, and there's way more going on than me just eating. Like, yes, I see that as a major component, but it's difficult to just hear that because it really does, it like minimizes the issue, right? Like an eating disorder is a mental disorder. And if the solution was just to eat, then we would not have all these people who relapse, right? And recovery would not be difficult. Like literally, if the solution was just to eat, then no one would have an eating disorder anymore because we'd eat and then we'd be fine, right? But then what happens is, we focus so much on the eating, which again is very important in nutritional rehabilitation, but I feel like there is not enough attention to the mental work, the neuro rewiring and creating a state of, your recovered state, and also creating the relationship that you have with yourself, because you have to start creating a relationship with yourself where you identify like, hey, this is the eating disorder, it's enemy number one, this is what the eating disorder wants, and then there's me, right? And you have to enhance a relationship with yourself, and the stronger that relationship with yourself gets, the harder it is for you to continue to go about with what the eating disorder is saying, because you're going to start to hear and see even more how detrimental it is and how it's really, the stronger the relationship that you have with yourself, the more distance that you're going to be able to create between you and the disorder. And that really does help in the recovery process of, personally, I think, preventing relapses and keeping people in a fully recovered state. And I mean, it also, at the end of the day, the most important relationship that you're ever going to have is the relationship with yourself. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're seeing this video and you're like 65 years old. Like, guess what? The most important relationship that you're going to have is with yourself. And that's not me saying that the relationship with your spouse or your partner or your kids is not important, but the relationship with you that you have with you, that is number one. That's key. So the more that we can focus on, enhancing the relationship with ourselves, getting to know ourselves, getting to love, respect, trust, honor, have compassion for, all of those things during recovery from an eating disorder, the more it's going to help us in the recovery process and staying recovered. And taking it back to, when a family member says like, just eat, and you're like, it's not that easy. Well, one thing that I did when I was in recovery was I would send my husband videos that I had seen on YouTube. So the woman that I used to recover is Tabitha Farrar. She has a book, a YouTube channel, and she has a podcast. So basically what I did was listen to every single video that she ever put out. It took me quite a while to start to implement it because that's, a whole nother thing in and of itself. But I used her method to recover, and it is literally essentially, like, for me, verbalizing it, it's basically doing the exact opposite of what your eating disorder wants you to do. And by doing that, you create new neural pathways, which then become your recovered state, right? You were separate from the eating disorder, and your brain is essentially new because you've created a situation where you're functioning from a normal space. So I would send my husband videos and be like, okay, listen, what she's saying is exactly how I feel. I can't verbalize it, but this woman has gone through what I'm going through, and this is what's happening. And I feel like that made it a whole lot easier for him to just kind of like understand a little bit because, again, like he's not versed in eating disorders, right? Like, I mean, he's just a normal dude. And I'm the one that, had like the whole situation going on and needed assistance. And another thing too is you can use your person, whoever your person is going to be, your therapist, whatnot, or, in this case, like it was my loved one. If I was getting in a mental space that was not somewhere that I wanted to be, I would sometimes just look at him or say, I need you to help me get out of this mental space. Like, I'm in a spot that I don't want to be in, which usually meant like I'm ruminating on something or I'm having fear about something. And then that would kind of just be his cue to be like, let's talk about this, shift my mental space of one that was just kind of like, oh, I'm going down the rabbit hole and I can't seem to get out of it, because for a really long time, it took me quite a while to first off realize that I was in the rabbit hole, and second, have the tools to get myself out of the rabbit hole, to where now I'm like, I don't even enter that, right? Like, I'm so self-aware that I'm like, oh, hey, there it is right over there, and I'm never gonna go there again. Nope, just like not worth my mental energy. But when you're going through recovery and, the cascade of all the things, just the fear, anxiety, rabbit hole stuff that can come up are happening, please lean on someone, lean on your person, and just say, hey, can you please like help redirect my mental space, basically. And it's a good shift, right? Because then that person, they're aware of what's going on, and you don't have to, sit there and just be like completely uncomfortable, feel like you're battling yourself. And again, remember, you are not battling yourself. You are fighting for yourself. You are battling the eating disorder because it is enemy number one, but you are not battling yourself. You are always fighting for yourself. You are fighting for the person that you want to be at the end of the day. You're fighting for the person that you want to be 1 year from now, right? Like your best self. You're always fighting for that person. You're not fighting with that person. And yeah, utilize the people that you have in your life. One of the things that I did that I wish I hadn't have done was kept my eating disorder a secret for so long. That made it very difficult for me to well, obviously I didn't have support because I didn't allow myself to have support. And even though somebody might not understand, what is going on with you and your recovery or whatnot, it doesn't mean that they don't love or care about you or want the best for you. And if you don't tell somebody what's going on, then they don't even have the opportunity to be like, hey, how can I help you? What can I do to be assistance of you? Because the eating disorder is the one that wants you to keep everything a secret. yeah. Side note. It doesn't want you to tell people. So if you're feeling like you're not wanting to tell anyone, that's the eating disorder, because again, remember, its goal is to always be with you. Its goal is not to have you recover. So, do the exact opposite. This is where a recovery-based behavior comes in, where it's literally as simple as the eating disorder says, don't tell anybody about me. And then what do? You got to tell somebody about the eating disorder, because that is a recovery-based behavior that is going to be putting you in the right direction to getting to your recovered state. Just telling someone alone and being open to having the support from that person. And even if they don't understand, I guarantee you, if you find a couple of videos on YouTube that you identify with, Tabitha Farrar is a great resource. Send it to that person. I mean, they're literally like mine, they're very short, and just be like, hey, this is what I'm going through. That way, if you're having difficulties verbalizing how you're feeling or what you're going through, because like, I know, I know what I was going through sounded crazy to a normal person, but it's not crazy. When you have an eating disorder, like it's mental, right? There's a mental disorder with that. And everything that you're going through is, it's hard, but you can do hard things, and you deserve the support of people that are in your life. So just keep that in mind when you are going through recovery, and utilize the people in your life, because I guarantee that they love and care about you, and they want what's best for you. And recovery is definitely, if you're watching this video, you are definitely interested in full recovery. So cheers to you, and you are worth all the effort in the world.